In most hospitals, elevators are just elevators. They move people up and down. Patients, doctors, families, food carts, stretchers. No one pays attention to them until one starts stopping where it shouldn't. St. Holden Medical Center sat at the edge of the city, a towering structure of concrete and glass that never truly slept. Even at 3 in the morning, lights glowed behind hundreds of windows, and the low hum of machinery echoed through its halls like a mechanical heartbeat. My name is Daniel Rowe. At the time, I was a night security officer, not a doctor, not a nurse, just someone paid to walk empty corridors and make sure nothing broke, burned, or bled where it wasn't supposed to. I worked the graveyard shift, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. People always laugh at that term, graveyard shift. I stopped laughing after my 3rd week. The elevator was already infamous when I started. Not officially, of course. There was no memo, no warning sign, just whispers. The Morgue Elevator, the nurses called it. It was Elevator C, an older unit tucked away in the far wing of the hospital, near the pathology department and the underground loading docks. Most staff avoided it. They preferred Elevator A or B, even if it meant walking an extra 5 minutes. When I asked why, the answers were always vague. It's weird. It has a mind of its own. It stops at the wrong floor sometimes. No one ever laughed when they said it. The first time I noticed something was wrong happened on a Tuesday night, 2:58 a.m. I remember the time because I was halfway through a cold cup of coffee, standing near the security desk, watching the CCTV monitors. On screen 7, Elevator C's interior camera, the doors were closed. No one inside. Then the indicator light flickered. 3:17 a.m. The elevator began to move, slowly, down. The thing about hospitals is that schedules matter. Everything runs on routine, deliveries, medication rounds, shift changes, and the morgue, located on sublevel 2, was never accessed at night unless there was a death. That night, there hadn't been one. I checked the log. No deaths reported since 9:42 p.m., yet the elevator descended anyway. I watched the screen as it passed sublevel 1 and stopped. The doors opened to darkness. The morgue lights were off, and there was no one there. I assumed it was a malfunction. Old equipment, faulty sensors. Still, protocol required a check. I grabbed my flashlight and radio and made my way toward the elevator. The hallway leading to Elevator C always felt colder than the rest of the hospital. The air smelled faintly of antiseptic and something metallic underneath it, like old blood. The doors were open when I arrived, waiting. I hesitated, then stepped inside. The elevator was silent. No hum, no vibration. The button panel glowed softly. I pressed ground floor. Nothing happened. Then, without warning, the doors slid shut. The lights flickered, and the elevator began to move. Down. My radio crackled. "Security to Row. You still checking Elevator C?" I tried to respond. Static. The floor indicator blinked past B1, past B2. That wasn't possible. There was nothing below the morgue. At least, that's what the blueprint said. The elevator stopped. The doors opened, and the temperature dropped instantly. I wasn't in the morgue. Not exactly. The corridor outside was longer than it should have been, lined with flickering fluorescent lights. The walls were tiled, but the tiles were cracked, stained dark in places. And there were doors, metal doors, on both sides, each marked with a number. Body storage. The air smelled wrong, sweet, rotten, chemical. And somewhere in the distance, I heard a sound, a slow, wet dragging. I backed into the elevator. The doors refused to close. Then I saw them, at the far end of the corridor. Figures, human-shaped, walking, or rather limping, toward me. Their movements were stiff, unnatural. As they came closer, the lights flickered again, and I saw their faces, or what was left of them. Sunken eyes, pale skin, mouths slightly open as if frozen mid-breath. Hospital wristbands still attached, toe tags swinging gently. I screamed. The doors slammed shut. The elevator shot upward violently, throwing me against the wall. The lights went out. Then, silence. When the doors opened again, I was back on the ground floor. 3:18 a.m. 1 minute had passed. I didn't tell anyone. Not that night. I convinced myself it was stress, fatigue, an overactive imagination fueled by too much caffeine and too little sleep. But it happened again and again, always at 3:17 a.m. The elevator moved on its own, always down, always stopping at the morgue. Sometimes I saw things on the camera, shadows, movement. Once, a stretcher rolled out of the elevator by itself, empty. I started digging, old records, archived files. That's when I found out about the incident. 23 years earlier. A fire, electrical failure in the pathology wing. The backup generators didn't kick in. The elevators stopped, including Elevator C. Inside were 9 people. 2 nurses, 1 doctor, 6 bodies being transported to the morgue. The fire suppression system flooded the lower levels with chemical foam. No one made it out. Their bodies were never recovered. Officially declared lost. After that, reports began to surface. Staff hearing bells ring at night. Patients dreaming of being called to the basement. Elevator C stopping at 3:17 a.m., the exact time the fire alarms failed. The hospital tried to decommission it, but every time they shut it down, it turned itself back on. The last night I worked there, I decided to stay, to watch. 3:16 a.m. The cameras flickered. The elevator indicator lit up. 3:17. This time, someone was inside. A woman, hospital gown, bare feet. Her head was tilted at an unnatural angle. She looked straight into the camera and smiled. The radio screamed to life. "Daniel," a voice whispered, not through the speaker. Behind me, cold fingers touched my shoulder. "Your shift is over." I woke up in a hospital bed, daylight streaming through the window. Doctors told me I'd been found unconscious near Elevator C. They said I was lucky. I asked about the woman. They exchanged glances. Then one of them said quietly, "No one has used that elevator in years." I quit the next day, moved cities, changed jobs. But sometimes, when I'm alone late at night, I hear it, a soft ding, and a voice in my ear. "Next stop?" I checked the news last week. St. Haldan Medical Center is expanding. They're reopening the lower levels. Elevator C has been restored. The article says it's fully operational, and that every night at 3:17 a.m., it still stops at the morgue, waiting.